Recording?
Meeting your adoptive baby is being set up on a blind date with someone that you have to spend the next 18 years with. You care about looks because you desperately want to fall in love with the stranger who will be your child. This is a quote written by Jana Wolf on her experience of adopting her daughter. Adopting a child is a very selfless and giving action. I rarely see any difference between my adopted students and their adopted parents, and my biological students and their parents. I have many friends also who are adopted, so adoption is no alien to me, but I have researched additional information for this speech. Today I will inform you all about the children that qualify for adoption, the requirements for the parents in order to adopt, and the U.S. domestic adoption process itself. With all processes, there are beginnings. With adoption, there are children. Approximately 100,000 to 130,000 children in the U.S. qualify for adoption each year. Now, when I say children, I mean infants to people who are 18 years old. However, there are some instances where individuals with special needs can be adopted from 18 to 21 years old. The foster care system is one place that adopted children are. This is about 41% of the population. The average entry age is 6.5 years old, and the average exit age in foster care is 8.5 years old. Now, they can live in foster care their whole life, which is pretty sad and why adoption does exist. And also, within the entire population, for the individuals with adoption, it's about 30 to 40% with special needs. However, the adoption rates are not quite understood because nobody really keeps track of their IEPs, diagnostic testing, because that's a different department. Now, because I can't personally tell what it's like to be in foster care, I do have a YouTube clip that will explain a few situations that children go through.
My mom had fallen. She started doing drugs and alcohol, and then she pulled us out of school and go to our biological dad's house and just do drugs and stuff and not even care about what we were seeing and stuff, because she'd do it right in front of us.
Living in group home, I felt like I wasn't respected, and I was always mad and angry. My former family put me in a group home, and I thought they didn't love me more. It's my fault that I'm in a group home and that I'm not worth anything.
Switch home.
As you've seen, these children are under a lot of stress going into foster care. So they may have an emotional or behavioral disturbance that some parents are not prepared for. So another way you can adopt a child is through a private adoption agency. This has they have children that are from similar situations like foster care, but they have less behavioral and emotional disabilities or issues. However, private adoption has more fees and it is way more expensive. And lastly, the remaining population for children that are adopted are from other countries. However, that is a different process that I will not be getting to today. Now that you understand the children, let's move on to the parents. Aspiring adoptive parents need to meet certain criteria in order to adopt. Usually, if individuals are married, they can adopt at 18 years old. However, if the individual who wants to adopt is single, they need to be 25, have a support system, and have a sufficient income. Now, single individuals can adopt, married individuals can adopt, divorced people can adopt, and same-sex couples can adopt, depending on the type of organization. And lastly, with this, individuals obviously need to have a passion to parent children, otherwise they're not really going to consider you. Now, all of these people may be infertile, unable to have children due to other circumstances, or just be very empathetic towards children who are in these types of situations. Now, after the aspiring parents have decided to adopt, they need to go through the adoption process. The U.S. domestic adoption process has 7 steps that usually takes about 9 to 18 months to complete. But sometimes it can take longer if there is a legal issue. The first step that parents need to do is educate themselves. Now, various colleges, adoption organizations, and hospitals, they all have programs and support groups to prepare oneself to adopt a child. The second step is to understand the adoption laws. Now, adoption laws vary from state to state, so if you're in one state and you move to another, you can be in a pretty frustrating legal situation if you don't correspond with their rules. The third option is to explore your options and select an agency. So you need to be thinking about, are you ready to potentially have a child with an emotional disability or another disability? Or do you want a private adoption if you are not quite ready for that commitment? The fourth step is to complete a home study. Once you are with an adoption agency, then you can get set up with a social worker and a caseworker from that agency. They come into your home and they educate and prepare your home for a child to live there. This can take about 2 to 10 months. Yeah. Then you engage in the placement process. So what type of characteristics, what type of personality do you want your child to have? How old do you want the child to be? Now, there are several ways that this is done. If you are adopting from foster care, you learn about the waiting children, and then you select a child with your caseworker, then you meet the child, learn about their goals, and the type of situation they were in with their birth parents, if you even know who the birth parents are. If you're adopting from a private agency, the agency selects a child for you. You don't really get a say in it because they select the child on their personality and they see if it is compatible with the multiple families that may be competing for that child. The sixth step is to file the necessary legal documents. So the child needs to live in the house for 6 months before the adoptive parents can file for the finalization. Then a social worker will note if the child is well cared for, and then an attorney will write a letter of approval to the court so that you can finally adopt the child, which is the 7th step. So yeah, and then you finally parent the child, which I'm not really going to go into because everybody has different parenting styles. As you all have witnessed, adoption is not an easy process. However, it is a very rewarding commitment. There are many children who qualify and wait to be adopted each year, parents who want children, and a process that requires patience for both parents and children. As author Deshane Stokes once said, adoption isn't just a childhood experience, it's a lifelong experience. Thank you.
Okay. See where it says return to full